What is happening? Today I have got another coffee review for you, and praise the Lord, it is not a light roast, right? You're probably tired of that stuff from me, but I do like medium roasts. I obviously have a preference for light roast single origin coffees, but every once in a while I will bring you a medium roast review or even a dark roast review. I like to mix it up, and I know that you guys obviously don't necessarily have the same taste buds that I have. So this one was sent to me by Delirio Coffee Roasters, and they are out of Jupiter, Florida. A place I've never been. Maybe one day I'll visit, but this is a medium roast, like I said, and it actually comes from an origin that I am not too accustomed to. I've probably had a few coffees from Nicaragua here and there, but this is at least the first that I can remember in recent history that I've got the chance to try out. So it is a wash coffee from Nicaragua, and it was grown 1350 meters above sea level, and it is the Caturra Catuai varietal, which is pretty common in Colombia, some other regions of the world, and they have notes here of chocolate, buttered toffee, and apricot. Also white florals. So I definitely would say that I picked up those chocolate notes. It is certainly, well, my experience varied from brew method to brew method. It started off pretty strong and balanced, not really any kind of over extraction. I started brewing this coffee with the Chemex, I believe, filter pour over stuff. Then I moved into more of the immersion zone. So I did an American press, which came out pretty over extracted, if I'm going to be honest here. It was a little bit dry and overall not really my cup of coffee, if you will. I do have something interesting here. Well, before I get into what's going on here, I got 2 cups of coffee, and I'll explain that in a sec. But before I do, I want to talk about espresso, which I just brewed up recently. Got a nice extraction out of it, and it was balanced, kind of like what I was getting in those first few cups of coffee that I brewed, and it had those chocolate notes with maybe more berry undertones. I was trying to think of what fruit I was tasting when I was drinking it, but with espresso, it's like it's like a race against the clock. You gotta consume it quickly, because the flavors are changing the longer you let it sit. And it's also like, you've got an ounce of coffee or 2 ounces of coffee, and it's really not a whole lot of time to dig into what exactly you're experiencing. But in any case, I liked it. Came out good, nice body, and nice solid flavor. So what I've got going on here is basically kind of an informal experiment that I did. I like to use my Kruve coffee sifter from time to time, especially because my grinder, the Breville Smart Grinder Pro, it isn't that consistent once you get into the coarser range of things, which has always been an issue I've had with that grinder. So I whipped out my Kruve here. I wanted to see how French press did, and I had to get a more consistent coarse grind. So I set up my, what are they called? My sieves as 1200 on the high range, so 1200 microns, and I'll show you that right here, versus 900 microns. So what I basically did was I took the grinds that were in the 900 to 1200 range, brewed that up in a French press, and then I took greater than 1200, so everything that was left over above the top sieve, which was 1200 microns, I put that in the other French press and brewed that up. And I am just gonna drink them side by side and let you know what I thought. I actually, to be honest, I don't remember which one came from which, so this will be a slightly better experiment with a little bit less bias involved here, because I don't remember which cup of coffee had which size grind. Really, it's not going to be perfect because, I mean, we're not talking about exactly 1200 microns here or exactly, let's say, 1000 microns for the other cup. It's going to be in a range, so it's not exactly the same grind size for either cup, but it should hopefully give each cup of coffee some unique complexity. So this one I would say is pretty earthy. It's got a slight bitterness to it, but one that I wouldn't say is an unattractive bitterness, kind of like a bitterness that you seek out. I mean, that might sound silly, but I mean, we drink coffee and we know that it's a bitter drink. It's an acquired taste, and this is kind of reminiscent of that bitterness that you just kind of like, you grow accustomed to. It's got a grittiness to it. Maybe a little like hint of grapefruit, lime. It's like there's some acidity in there, but it's mostly darker flavor. And now I'm picking up something that's more like tobacco-esque in the aftertaste. All right, let's try this other one. It's got a nuttier aroma, and this one has more of a bright kick. So those undertones, those lime grapefruit undertones are more present here. But the most noticeable difference I would say is actually in the aroma, which is, like I said, it's nutty almost. And I would say that this cup is more balanced. It has less astringency, less indications of over extraction. So just a quick little experiment there. I wanted to just kind of see how this coffee did at different grind levels for immersion, because I didn't want to count immersion out completely, because it's a brew method that I would expect to work well with a coffee like this that is medium roast. And I think in the end, I still prefer this through stronger filtration. So think your Chemex paper filters. And I did really enjoy it as espresso. But you know, now as I'm drinking this cup more, and I'll follow up with a note when I do some editing here, but as to which cup is which. But my hunch is that this cup of coffee was probably in the greater than 1200 micron range. I feel that way because I think that the 900 to 1200 might have been a little bit too fine for these purposes. So in the end, I thought, again, I'd rank this best for drip. Almost tied up with espresso, which was also quite good. Immersion, not bad, but way easier to over extract, I would say. And this could just be because of the grinder I have. So if you're gonna go out and buy a coffee like this that's on the darker spectrum, I would really make sure that your grinder has the ability to get consistently coarse and keep some of those fines out, because you're gonna get easier over extraction with a grinder that can't produce consistent coarse grinds on that spectrum. So again, this is Delirio Coffee Roasters, and they once again are out of Jupiter, Florida. If you've tried any other coffee, particularly this one, the Monimbo from Nicaragua, let me know. Avísenme. No sé si se dan cuenta que yo hablo español, pero a veces me gusta hablar español y quizás un día voy a hacer una revista así, en puro español. ¿Me entiendes? All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and leave your questions and comments below. Peace.